Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today, we're going to be talking about the true cost of health.
We're missing a piece of the puzzle. You start getting healthy and you just become a better person. We need to start focusing more on the individual.
So today, I wanted to have this talk where we kind of look at what does health really cost? And then comparatively speaking, I want to look at what does disease cost? The reason for this talk is because, maybe about two years ago, year and a half ago, somebody posted on I think the business page. It was a post showing the cost of cancer, like their cancer bill, chemo, whatever medication they were on, what it cost them every single month. And someone reposted it in the Facebook group, and they were like, look, this is the true cost of disease, right? And it made me think about how we complain about the cost of eating healthy, right? The cost, what does it cost to buy organic bell pepper versus a conventional bell pepper? What does it cost to buy seeded grapes or to seek out seeded grapes versus, seedless grapes? What does it cost to make fresh juice versus buying a bottle of soda, right? And what I have found is, while yes, it costs more when you look at like conventional versus organic, something that has a really high wellness rating, like as far as meat and stuff, versus something that has a low wellness rating. There is a major difference in that initial cost. But are we looking at this as short term, or are we looking at this long term? Do you plan for the next 5 minutes, or do you plan, do you move based on the fact that you assume you're going to be here tomorrow, right? And I think that perspective gets lost when we're looking at our grocery bill, because while yes, an organic bell pepper costs more than a conventional bell pepper, what are the costs outside of the actual transaction, right? And this idea that a cancer patient was paying nearly $10,000 a month to essentially do treatment to keep themselves alive, I think it really put it in perspective. I mean, I've never been really, really sick. I know that medical, bills are very expensive, surgeries and things like that. But I got to be honest, I've never thought that it would cost $10,000 a month to, treat cancer. It's nothing that I've ever really thought about, right? I mean, I hear the big numbers, oh, it's $100,000 or $200,000. But then I think, insurance is paying. I never really think about what someone's out-of-pocket expense could potentially be. But when I started doing that, I'm like, whoa, like cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's or dementia, living in hospice or living in a nursing home, the cost for these things far exceed that extra dollar that you spend for a bell pepper, if that makes sense. And it really is like that simple. We think that being healthy is this extremely hard thing to do. And the part of the reason why we think it's so hard and so challenging is because society has made it that way. It's not naturally hard. If you just observe nature, you'll see how to be healthy. It's very easy, and it's really about balance. And it's repeated in every element of our dimension. So it's really obvious. But man has come in and he's poisoned the seed, he's poisoned the ground, he's poisoned the air, he's poisoned so everything's poisoned. And then you go to find information, and the information is tainted, right? There's someone trying to sell a pill or sell something. So it's hard to get good information. With that being said, it really is as simple as making better decisions at the grocery store, because what's going to happen is it's going to translate to lower blood pressure, right? You normalize blood pressure, normalize cholesterol. So that means you're not going to get diabetes because you don't have a ton of extra mucus coating your pancreas. You're not going to get brain fog, right? By eating right, hydrating well, You don't have to worry about the disease that comes along as your body starts to break down because you've treated it so poorly, right? We're eating all these chemical foods and all of this fake stuff, this plastic. We're gunking our system up. We're not detoxing, so eventually our bodies start to fail, and that also gets passed on to our babies. So if you are a toxic man or you're a toxic woman and you come together with another toxic being and then you have a baby, the womb is toxic, the sperm is toxic, the baby is born toxic, and then that's where we get a lot of birth issues from. So it's really a community thing because if you just eat McDonald's and Burger King and shakes and you drink all the time and you don't really care, that's cool, that's your life. But then if you have a baby, now you're passing those weak genetics or that dysfunctional toxic environment, you're passing it on to your baby, and now your baby is born a few paces behind because your decisions. So we have to actually start looking at the big picture, right? How are our food choices affecting us? How is it affecting our babies? How is it affecting maybe children we already have? Last week I talked about how obesity is an epidemic and how because we're getting so big, it's definitely affecting our lifespan, and our elders are passing away much earlier than they typically would or what they should, even in more modern times. And so the wisdom that they have, the life experience and things, they're not able to pass on. So this also plays into the cost of health versus the cost of disease. When I look at things critically, I kind of imagine a scale in my mind, right? And I say, okay, so you've got the cost of health, the cost of disease, and you're just weighing and you're putting pros and cons and you're kind of weighing the scale. And I have to be honest and say that the cost of health is minuscule to the cost of disease when we consider all of the factors, especially some of the ones that I just named. So with that being said, I wanted to do this video to help you kind of shift your perspective on when you're making those decisions at the grocery store, right? How is it really affecting the big picture? It's not really just this, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to have to spend $100 versus 80. I could save $20 if I mess with the conventional stuff. Or even worse, if you're just getting box stuff or packaged stuff. I mean, I'm just talking about fresh produce here, but if you start weighing in the box stuff, the packaged stuff, you could save a lot more money. You might be able to save $30, right? And I understand that everybody is not in a place monetarily speaking to invest, large amounts of money into their health. But keep in mind, part of the reason why eating healthy is so expensive is because we want to dump healthy food on top of the stuff we already eat, right? We're not saying, all right, look, because people say I come from humble beginnings and things like that. Like I grew up in the hood part of my life. We were on food stamps. We went to bed hungry. So I already know what it is. So I know what we had in our house. And my mom did her best. She cooked pretty much every night. So we did, at least we had a parent who was cooking. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are eating out of bags and boxes and cans and don't even know what a real vegetable looks like. But when we consider the amount of money we spend on the garbage and on things that aren't benefiting us long term, then it really starts to make more sense how we can afford eating healthy. Like, for example, if you buy a box of cereal, one of the family size boxes of cereal, whatever, doesn't matter what brand it is, let's just say you would consider that a good expense because maybe you have 3 children, so you could get a box of cereal for $4, $5. I don't know what they cost anymore. And then you got to get a gallon of milk, right, to go with it, and milk is another $2-3. So for a family size box of cereal and a gallon of milk, I would say that you're probably around $8 to $10, depending on what you're buying. And I'm just giving a range, probably closer to the $8 range. You could certainly get it cheaper, but I would imagine it's a smaller bag. But I'm not really in that realm anymore, so don't quote me on these prices. I'm just telling you about what I remember. For $8 to $10, if you go and get yourself a pound of quinoa, some wild rice, some bell peppers, some tomatoes, some cucumbers, some mushrooms. Like you can buy a whole, you could buy a whole bunch of food for that same price just for that box of cereal and milk. But we don't look at it that way, right? We don't look at it that way. Nuts are really expensive. I can agree on that, right? But we can find deals for nuts. You could get a, a 1 cup of almonds. 1 cup of almonds will make you 3 to 4 cups of milk. But you can really save a lot of money if you start making stuff from scratch. If you stop buying the big flashy boxes here, the easy stuff. Like if you start making stuff from scratch and you're more intentional about how you spend your money, your dollar will go much further, or your euro, or whatever, your rupee, wherever you live. It will go much further and you can eat healthier. Also, oftentimes we do have a little space, whether it's in a backyard, or we could a patio or something where we could put planters and we can start growing our own food. So I'm not really interested in the excuse that I can't afford it, because I've been there and I've made very poor decisions in those circumstances. I'm the first to tell you, when I was in a bad place, I would eat chicken patties, and I really don't remember having anything else with it. I remember buying chicken patties and bread. And I know at that time I would spend at least $10 on chicken patties and bread, at least. So I had at least $10. My mind wasn't on getting me some natural grains. You know how far like wild rice and quinoa goes for, just satiating your stomach. Even potatoes, which I'm not a huge fan of eating a ton of potatoes, but let's be honest, they're really satiating. It's very easy to make, or even like a butternut squash or something like that. There's other options out there. Had I understood what I know now, I could have made way better health choices back then, even though I was only spending, $12 when I went to the grocery store. Anyway, there's also options outside of like you actually buying groceries from the grocery store. There's a lot of communities that have churches that will do food drives. There's food pantries the cities and townships have available. There's actually a lot of options available if the cost is really your issue. Now, by hearing this video, you might find, well, Chris, you're kind of right. I do waste a lot of money on a bag of potato chips. I mean, I'll spend $3 on a bag of potato chips that has no nutritional value. It's not doing anything for you. Like, I'm at a point now when I go to the grocery store, back maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'd still grab a bag of chips. You know what I mean? Every once in a while. I don't even go to that aisle anymore. I mean, I'm not saying that I won't ever have chips, but I'm just saying, like, I used to go, it was part of my routine. I might hit the produce section, and then maybe twice a month I'd hit the chip aisle, right? I don't remember the last time I went to the chip aisle, you know, and it's expensive to buy that stuff. Like, it really does add up. So anyway, if you feel like you can't afford to eat healthy, you're wrong. You can afford to eat healthy. There's many options out there. You might have to think out of the box. It might make you, you might have to get a little uncomfortable or whatever the case may be, but there's options available for you. Don't let that be the excuse why you die early, why you're constantly dealing with debilitating disease and issues, because once again, remember, the cost of disease far outweighs the cost of healthy food and things of that nature when you look at it holistically, look at the big picture. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, maybe opened up your mind a little bit, maybe gave you some ideas that you didn't think of. There's many other opportunities out there that I didn't even mention. There's people who will advocate for you and help you find food if you need it, if you're just looking for healthy options and you're struggling financially. There was a company that came out. I think they're still relevant. It's called Imperfect. They're not everywhere, but basically they take imperfect fruit and vegetables and they put it in a box, and you could buy boxes of fruit and vegetables that way. There's co-ops. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of options out there. Hopefully you don't just sit on your hands and say, well, I can't afford it. And then you just say, oh, it is what it is. I used to work with a guy who had, I think he had 5 children. So he was taking care of 6 people. And he would tell me, Chris, I can't afford organic food. And I'll be like, okay, well, what did you have for dinner last night? He's like, well, we went to KFC. I said, how much does it cost to feed a family of 6 at KFC? Oh, like $30. So I'm like, so you spent $30 in one night, one day, and you're saying you can't afford healthy food? Some of the thing, it's mindsets, it's programming. You know what I'm saying? $30 will go so far in fruits and vegetables. Like, it's insane, right? But we want to do the processed stuff and the chips and the hostess snack cakes, and we want to buy the meat and all that stuff. And that's where it becomes expensive, because you're buying it all. But if you just focus on the healthy stuff and things that will satiate you, it's not that expensive. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I will see you all next time.